Jenna sat in her small apartment, the walls closing in around her. The air felt heavy, as though it could barely contain the weight of her dreams. She had worked her whole life for this moment, the chance to go to space, to become one of the first humans to explore the stars. But it seemed like every door she knocked on was locked tight, every email a rejection, every interview an uncomfortable reminder of how far she was from her goal. It had started when she was a child. Her fascination with space was more than just a passing interest. It was a passion that burned inside her, growing stronger with each passing year. While most of the kids in her class dreamed of becoming doctors or artists, Jenna spent her free time staring at the night sky, imagining what lay beyond. She devoured books about space exploration, watched every documentary she could find, and even built her own telescope from scratch. She knew, deep down, that she was meant for something greater. As she grew older, Jenna's ambitions only grew with her. She worked hard in school, earning top grades in physics, mathematics, and engineering. She spent countless hours studying, never allowing herself to get distracted by anything that could pull her away from her dream. She knew that space wasn't just a dream for everyone. It was a reality, a future that could one day be hers. But when Jenna graduated from college with honors, the world of space exploration wasn't as welcoming as she had imagined. She applied to every space agency she could find: NASA, private companies, the Galactic Coalition, any place that could give her the opportunity to leave Earth behind. She wrote letters, attended interviews, and spent sleepless nights crafting perfect resumes. But one by one, each organization turned her down. They told her she didn't have enough experience, or that they were looking for someone with a more specialized skill set. They told her she was too young, too inexperienced, too eager, or simply not the right fit. Jenna couldn't understand it. She had worked so hard. She had the qualifications, the intelligence, and the drive. What more could they want? With every rejection, a little part of her heart broke. She felt like she was fading into the background, like she was being erased from a story she should have been a part of. Her phone buzzed again, and she glanced at the screen. Another rejection. The message was short, almost cold, but it still stung just as much as the others. "Thank you for your application, but we regret to inform you that we are moving forward with other candidates." Jenna tossed the phone aside and buried her face in her hands. The tears came then, silent and uncontrollable. She had tried everything she could, and still, no one seemed to believe in her. Her dream of exploring the stars seemed more distant than ever. She couldn't help but wonder if it was even worth continuing the fight. She had always been a fighter. Growing up in a modest neighborhood, Jenna had learned to push through adversity. She had to. There was no other choice. Her mother, a single parent, had taught her the importance of perseverance, of never giving up even when things seemed impossible. But today, for the first time in her life, Jenna felt defeated. The weight of the world seemed to rest on her shoulders. She wasn't just fighting for herself anymore. She was fighting for every girl who had been told she wasn't good enough. She was fighting for every dreamer who had been told that space was for men, for the privileged, for the chosen few. But, no matter how hard she fought, the doors remained shut and no one seemed willing to listen. As the hours passed, Jenna lost track of time. The rejection emails piled up, each one a reminder of how far she still had to go. She sat on her couch, staring blankly at the wall. The quiet hum of the city outside her window was the only sound that filled the room. The loneliness began to creep in, wrapping itself around her like a suffocating blanket. "Maybe this isn't meant to be," she whispered to herself, the words tasting bitter in her mouth. But they felt true. After all, if the doors wouldn't open for her, maybe she wasn't meant to walk through them. Maybe the stars would remain out of reach, just like they had always been for the people who didn't belong in that world. A sudden knock at the door interrupted her thoughts. Jenna's heart skipped a beat. She wasn't expecting anyone. Hesitant, she got up and made her way to the door, wiping the tears from her eyes. When she opened it, a man stood before her. He was tall and dressed in a sleek black suit, his expression serious but not unfriendly. In his hand was a small envelope. "Jenna Miller?" he asked, his voice calm. "Yes, that's me," she replied, confused. The man handed her the envelope. "You've been selected to attend a meeting with the Galactic Coalition," he said, his voice lowering slightly as if to make the moment more significant. "They've reviewed your application, and they want to meet with you. The meeting is tomorrow. Be there at 10 a.m. Jenna stood frozen for a moment, staring at the envelope in her hands. Her heart raced. This had to be a mistake. The Galactic Coalition was the most prestigious space organization in the galaxy. Only the best of the best were considered, and here she was, a rejected candidate, being invited to a meeting with them. The man turned to leave, but Jenna called after him. "Wait, what is this? How could they possibly want to meet with me?" The man paused but didn't turn around. "All I know is that they're interested in you. They've seen something. Good luck." And with that, he walked away, disappearing into the bustling street. Jenna stood there for a long moment, still holding the envelope. She felt a strange mix of disbelief and excitement. Could this be the break she had been waiting for? The opportunity to prove herself? Or was it just another cruel joke? Another door that would slam in her face? But Jenna couldn't stop the spark of hope that flickered inside her chest. She couldn't ignore the possibility that this time things might be different. For the first time in weeks, she felt something other than despair. She felt a glimmer of excitement, a sense of possibility. She opened the envelope, revealing a sleek invitation inside. It was written in a language she didn't recognize, the words shimmering as though they were alive. At the bottom of the page, a single sentence stood out in bold letters. "A new chapter begins tomorrow." Jenna's heart skipped. She couldn't explain why, but she knew this was her chance. This was the moment she had been waiting for, the one that could change everything, and this time, she wasn't going to let it slip away. The next morning, Jenna woke with a start, her mind racing. She had barely slept the night before, her mind consumed by the mysterious invitation from the Galactic Coalition. She had thought it was a dream, a figment of her desperate hopes. But when she reached for the envelope beside her bed, it was still there. The shimmering words a reminder that something bigger was waiting for her. Jenna quickly got dressed, her hands trembling, as she prepared for what might be the most important meeting of her life. She wasn't sure what to expect. The Galactic Coalition was not like any organization she had ever heard of. They were known across the galaxy as a powerful entity, made up of human and alien representatives working to advance the exploration of space. To be invited by them, someone like her, someone who had been rejected time and time again, felt like an impossible twist of fate. The meeting was set in an imposing building, towering over the city like a giant, made of shining metal and glass. Jenna stood before it, feeling small in comparison. The building looked more like a fortress than a place of business, and she could feel her heart pounding as she stepped through the doors. Inside, everything was sleek, modern, and efficient. Glass walls, smooth marble floors, and futuristic technology that hummed quietly in the background. A tall receptionist behind a transparent desk looked up as Jenna approached. Her sharp, alien eyes studied Jenna for a moment, before she spoke in a calm, measured tone. "Are you Jenna Miller?" the receptionist asked. Jenna nodded, swallowing the lump in her throat. She had been practicing what she would say, but now, in this sterile environment, words seemed to fail her. "Please follow me," the receptionist said, standing and walking toward an elevator. Jenna followed her, feeling her nerves settle into a tight ball in her stomach. As they ascended, the elevator's walls displayed holographic images of distant stars, planets, and galaxies. Jenna's breath caught in her throat as she watched a vibrant nebula swirl in front of her. She had seen these images before, but now they felt real, like they were just beyond her reach. The elevator stopped, and the door opened to reveal a large circular room. It was dimly lit, the walls lined with alien technology that pulsed with soft blue light. In the center of the room stood a long table, surrounded by figures in sharp, elegant suits. There were humans, yes, but also creatures Jenna had never seen before. Tall, elegant beings with translucent skin, their bodies glowing faintly, and others who appeared like nothing more than shadows, their forms shifting in and out of visibility. At the head of the table stood a man who appeared to be the leader. He was human but had an air of authority that radiated from him. His silver hair was neatly combed and his piercing green eyes studied Jenna with an intensity that made her feel as though he could see straight into her soul. "Welcome, Jenna Miller," he said, his voice calm and smooth. "I'm Koresh, and these are the representatives of the Galactic Coalition. Please take a seat." Jenna felt the weight of their gazes as she sat down at the table. It was clear that each of them was a leader. Jenna felt a mixture of excitement and fear as she followed Koresh down the long, sterile hallway. The room they were heading toward was unlike anything she had ever seen before. The walls seemed to shimmer with a soft pulsing light, and the air was thick with an otherworldly energy. As they reached the door, Koresh paused and looked at Jenna. "Are you sure you're ready for this?" he asked, his tone gentle but serious. Jenna nodded, though her heart was racing. She had never been more certain of anything in her life. This was her chance to prove that she belonged. She had come this far, and there was no turning back now. She had been told time and time again that she wasn't good enough, that she didn't belong in the world of space exploration. But here, in this room, she could prove them all wrong. Koresh motioned for her to step inside, and as Jenna walked through the door, she was immediately struck by the strange atmosphere. The room was dimly lit, with the soft glow of strange crystals embedded in the walls. In the center of the room stood a large circular platform. It looked like some kind of high-tech medical bed, its surface smooth and metallic. On the platform was a figure, tall, slender, and almost ethereal. Its skin was a translucent shade of blue, shimmering with a faint glow that seemed to come from within. The creature's eyes were closed and it appeared to be in a deep state of rest, almost as if it were waiting for something. "This is Zither," Koresh said softly, his voice barely a whisper. "He is the one who will merge with you. He's been waiting for a human host, and you, Jenna, are the one he has chosen." Jenna's breath caught in her throat. The alien, Zither, looked like nothing she had ever seen before. His beauty was otherworldly, his form both alien and familiar at the same time. She had never imagined that she would come face to face with something so different from anything she had ever known. "Zither is an ancient being," Koresh continued, his eyes fixed on the creature. "He has knowledge that spans across galaxies, wisdom that goes back centuries. But his people no longer exist, and he is the last of his kind. He cannot survive alone." Jenna glanced at Koresh, her mind racing. "But what do you mean? Why does he need me?" Koresh turned to her, his expression serious. "Zither needs a host, someone whose body can withstand the merging of his consciousness. Without it, he will fade away. You may be the only human who can handle this." He paused, letting the weight of his words settle. "This is not just about you helping him. It's about both of you. You will gain knowledge, experience, and strength beyond anything you can imagine. But it will not be easy." Jenna swallowed hard. The idea of allowing an alien to merge with her body was both terrifying and thrilling. She would be giving up a part of herself, her control, her very identity, for something far greater. And yet a part of her wanted to take the leap. She had always dreamed of becoming something more. This was her chance. This was her moment to change everything. Koresh stepped aside, allowing Jenna to approach the platform. "You must decide now," he said. "Once the process begins, there is no turning back. You will be the vessel for Zither's consciousness. You will share your thoughts, your emotions, your experiences with him, and he will do the same for you. It will be a partnership, but it will be unlike anything you've ever known." Jenna hesitated for a moment, her heart pounding in her chest. She had always prided herself on her independence, on her ability to make her own decisions. But this was different. This was something far beyond anything she had ever imagined. She glanced at Zither, his glowing form lying still on the platform. She didn't know why, but she felt a strange connection to him, as though she could sense his longing, his need for a connection. He wasn't just some alien entity waiting to take over her body. He was a being who had experienced loss, who had seen entire civilizations fall. He was alone, just like her. "Okay," Jenna said, her voice steady, though her hands were shaking. "I'm ready." Koresh nodded, his expression unreadable. "Remember, once you begin, there will be no going back. You will be changed forever." Jenna stepped onto the platform, feeling the cold metal beneath her feet. As she lay down, the surface of the platform hummed to life, the crystals in the walls glowing brighter as if in response to her presence. The air around her seemed to thicken, and she could feel the weight of the decision she had just made pressing down on her. For a moment, everything was still. Then, Koresh's voice broke the silence. "The process will begin now." Suddenly, Jenna felt a warmth wash over her. It started in her chest and spread outwards, filling every part of her body. Her heart began to race as she felt the presence of Zither inside her mind. At first, it was just a faint whisper, like the touch of a breeze on a warm summer day. But then, it grew stronger, more defined, until she could hear his voice clearly. "I am Zither," the voice said, deep and resonant like the sound of a distant storm. "I have waited for this moment for a long time. You, Jenna, are the one who will help me find my place in this universe. Together, we will shape the future." Jenna's breath caught in her throat as the alien consciousness began to merge with hers. It was unlike anything she had ever experienced. There was a feeling of expansion, of her mind stretching to accommodate another presence. It wasn't painful, but it was intense. Her thoughts began to blur and she could feel Zither's emotions and memories flooding her mind. "Do not fear," Zither's voice reassured her. "I will not take over you. We will share this body, this mind. I will be your guide and you will be mine." Jenna's mind spun as she tried to process everything that was happening. She could sense the vast knowledge that Zither possessed, the ancient wisdom that had been passed down through the ages. It was overwhelming, but at the same time, exhilarating. She felt a surge of power and understanding, as though she had suddenly unlocked the secrets of the universe. For the first time in her life, Jenna felt truly alive. She wasn't just a girl from Earth anymore. She was part of something far greater, something that stretched across galaxies and time itself. And with Zither's consciousness within her, she knew that she could accomplish anything. The process continued for what felt like hours. Jenna felt herself losing touch with her sense of self, and yet, at the same time, she felt more connected to the universe than ever before. It was as though she had become a part of the stars themselves, her body a vessel for the knowledge of the cosmos. Finally, the process came to an end. Jenna opened her eyes, blinking against the bright lights of the room. She could feel Zither's presence within her, but it wasn't overwhelming. It felt like a part of her, a second voice in her mind guiding her, helping her see the world in a new way. Koresh stood by the platform, watching her with a mixture of awe and approval. "It is done," he said softly. "You are now the vessel for Zither. Together, you will change the course of history." Jenna sat up, feeling stronger than she had ever felt before. She could feel Zither's energy pulsing inside her, and she knew that she was no longer just a human. She was something more, something powerful, something connected to the stars. She smiled, a sense of purpose filling her heart. This was just the beginning. Jenna took a deep breath as she sat up from the platform, her body feeling strangely alive as though every cell was buzzing with energy. The room around her was dimly lit, the walls pulsing softly with light. Koresh stood at the edge, observing her with a look of quiet anticipation. Jenna's mind was still adjusting to the presence of Zither within her, the alien consciousness, now intertwined with her own. It felt like a part of her was missing, and yet, in its place was something infinitely more powerful, something ancient, something beyond her understanding. "Are you all right?" Koresh's voice broke through her thoughts, and Jenna turned to face him. I think so," she replied, her voice shaky but filled with wonder. She hadn't expected it to feel this way, this strange blend of her own thoughts and the alien consciousness that now shared her mind. There was still a sense of her, the human Jenna, but it was now accompanied by Zither's presence, like an invisible force that guided her actions and thoughts. It wasn't overpowering, but it was there and it was undeniable. Good, Koresh said, nodding slowly. The process is complete, but it will take time for you to fully adapt. Zither's knowledge, his experiences will take root in your mind. You'll feel his presence more clearly as you continue on this journey. It may feel overwhelming at times, but it will also make you stronger. Jenna nodded, her mind still swimming with the flood of new thoughts and memories that weren't entirely hers. It was like trying to hold on to a dream that was constantly slipping through her fingers, yet every time she reached for it, something new appeared. New wisdom, new understanding. Zither's memories were vast, spanning across worlds and eons, filled with knowledge she could hardly comprehend. And yet, it all seemed to make sense, like pieces of a puzzle falling into place. "Zither, are you still there?" Jenna asked, her voice soft but filled with curiosity. She had felt the alien's presence in her mind, but now, with her eyes open, everything felt still, almost silent. "I am here, Jenna," came Zither's voice, deep and resonant, echoing through her mind like a distant rumble of thunder. "I will always be here within you. You are not alone." Jenna shivered slightly, not from fear, but from the overwhelming feeling of being connected to. The sun beat down on the dusty surface of Terravor as Jenna stepped forward, her boots crunching against the dry ground. Her suit hummed softly, adjusting to the temperature and protecting her from the planet's harsh environment. The people of Terravor were gathered in front of her, their faces a mixture of curiosity and distrust. They were unlike anything she had ever seen before. Tall, with skin that ranged from pale to dark brown, their clothing simple, made from materials that seemed to be woven from the very plants of their world. Jenna took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment settle on her shoulders. She wasn't just representing Earth now. She was the bridge between her people and these people, between the old world and the new. And she knew that this mission was more than just a chance to prove herself. It was a chance to save a world that was teetering on the brink of collapse. As she approached the group, a tall man stepped forward, his eyes narrowed. He was dressed in a loose robe of earth-toned fabric, his hair dark and tangled. His presence was commanding, and Jenna could tell that he was someone important, perhaps a leader. "You are the one they sent?" he asked, his voice rough, as though he had not spoken in days. "The one who comes from the stars?" Jenna nodded, standing tall. "Yes, I am. My name is Jenna. I come from Earth, and I'm here to help." The man's gaze remained sharp, his suspicion clear. "Help? We need no help from strangers. We have survived on our own for centuries." "I understand," Jenna replied, her voice steady. "But your world is changing. The storms are growing stronger, the crops are failing, and the resources you depend on are dwindling. If nothing changes, Terravor will be lost." The man looked her over, his expression skeptical. "And what makes you think you can help us? You don't know our ways. You don't understand the struggles we face." Jenna stepped forward, feeling Zither's presence in her mind. His wisdom and strength were like a steady hand, guiding her, reminding her that she was not just Jenna anymore. She was more. She had a unique perspective now, one that came not just from her own experiences, but from the knowledge of an ancient being who had seen civilizations rise and fall. "I may not know everything about your world," she said, her voice growing stronger. "But I do know that the universe is full of challenges, challenges that can't be faced alone. I am here to help you find a solution, not just for your survival, but for your future." The man eyed her closely, his gaze searching her face for any sign of doubt. Jenna could feel the weight of his scrutiny, but she stood firm. This was her moment to prove that she belonged here, that she was capable of more than just being a spectator in the grand scheme of the universe. Another figure, a woman this time, stepped forward. She was shorter than the man, with dark hair and sharp features. Her eyes glinted with the same suspicion, but there was something else there too. Something softer, something that hinted at hope. "You speak of solutions," the woman said, her voice measured. But what kind of solution could you offer? Our people have tried everything. We've mined the land, we've fought for control of the resources, but nothing has worked. The storms keep coming, the fields keep dying, and we are running out of time. Jenna glanced at the sky, seeing the swirling clouds that hung above them like a constant reminder of their struggles. The storms had been getting worse, the wind picking up in intensity and tearing through villages, leaving destruction in its wake. It was clear that Terravor was on the brink of disaster, but there was still time. There had to be. I don't have all the answers, Jenna said, her voice steady but full of conviction. But I do know that you can't keep doing things the same way and expect a different result. You've been fighting each other for resources, but what if the solution isn't just more fighting? What if the solution is cooperation? The woman raised an eyebrow, clearly intrigued but not yet convinced. Cooperation? You think we can just work together after all these years of conflict? The factions on this planet have been at war for as long as anyone can remember. Trust is in short supply. Jenna nodded. I know that, but I also know that when people are faced with destruction, they have a choice. They can keep fighting, or they can come together and find a way to survive. Zither's presence stirred within her, and she could feel the weight of his ancient wisdom pressing on her mind. You are not just a human anymore, Jenna. Zither's voice echoed softly in her thoughts. You are the key. You have the knowledge to guide them, to help them see the bigger picture. You must be patient. They will listen in time. Jenna took a deep breath, closing her eyes for a moment to steady herself. She had to believe in herself. She had to believe that this mission was worth it. She wasn't just here to represent Earth. She was here to prove that humanity was capable of more than just destruction. She was here to show Terravor that they didn't have to face the end alone. Turning back to the group, she spoke again, her voice filled with a quiet but undeniable power. I know you've been through a lot. I know the pain of watching your world change in ways you can't control. But you don't have to face this alone. There's a chance to save your world, but it won't happen unless we work together. The tall man, who had been silent for some time, looked down at the ground, his expression conflicted. Jenna could see the doubt in his eyes, but there was also something else, something like hope, buried beneath the layers of resistance. We've been fighting for so long, he said quietly. But maybe it's time to listen. Jenna's heart lifted as the first crack of doubt appeared in the man's voice. She had to keep pushing, keep showing them that there was a better way. I'm not asking you to forget your struggles or your history, she said, but you can build something better for the future. The storms, the droughts, the famine. It's not too late to change your path, but it has to start with trust. You have to trust each other, and you have to trust me. The woman who had spoken earlier stepped closer to Jenna, her eyes narrowing as she studied her. And how can we trust you? She asked. How do we know you're not here to take advantage of us? Jenna met her gaze, her voice calm and reassuring. I'm not here to take anything from you. I'm here to help. I've seen what's out there in the universe. I've seen the destruction that comes when civilizations refuse to change. I don't want that for your people. But if you don't act now, if you don't work together, it will be too late. The silence that followed felt heavy, the weight of her words sinking into the hearts of the people around her. Jenna stood tall, waiting for a response, for the first sign that they were ready to listen. It was a risk, putting everything on the line like this, but she had no other choice. This was the path she had chosen, and she was determined to see it through no matter how hard it might be. Finally, the man nodded slowly, as if accepting the weight of her words. Perhaps we should try, he said, his voice soft but resolute. Maybe it's time for us to listen. Jenna's heart soared with a mix of relief and triumph. It wasn't a complete victory yet, but it was a start. She had broken through their resistance, and now, together, they could work towards saving Terravor. The real work was just beginning, but Jenna knew one thing for sure. This was the moment when everything started to change. Jenna stood on the balcony of the makeshift command center, overlooking the vast landscape of Terravor. The setting sun, painted the sky with hues of red and orange, casting a warm glow over the rugged terrain. It had been several weeks since she had arrived on this world, and she could already see the first signs of change. The people of Terravor had begun to listen, to trust. It had been a slow process, but it was happening. Factions that had once been at odds were now working together, pooling their resources to combat the planet's growing storms. Jenna had guided them through the difficult negotiations, using her understanding of both their culture and the wisdom she had gained from Zither. The alien being's ancient knowledge had proven invaluable in helping her navigate the complex web of distrust and division that had plagued Terravor for centuries. Jenna felt a surge of pride as she watched the people below, working together to rebuild their society. They were no longer fighting over resources. Instead, they were learning to share, to collaborate, and to look toward a future where their survival didn't depend on constant conflict. She wasn't doing it alone, though. Zither's presence within her was a constant source of strength, his voice guiding her when doubt crept in. "You are doing well, Jenna," Zither's voice whispered in her mind. "The people are learning. They will be better for it." Jenna smiled at the thought, though it was tinged with a deep sadness. Zither's knowledge was vast, his experiences spanning centuries, but it wasn't just his wisdom that had helped her. It was the bond they shared, the understanding that she wasn't alone. She had become more than just a human. She was a bridge between two worlds, two beings. And in that moment, Jenna knew that her life would never be the same. As the days passed, Terravor's people began to adapt to the changes they had set in motion. They began to implement new technologies, drawing on the knowledge Jenna had shared with them. They built wind farms to harness the power of the planet's constant storms, and they developed new irrigation systems to restore the dying crops. It was a slow process, but the planet's once dying world was showing signs of life again.